It's a great privilege, and I take the pleasure in introducing the chief guest, Dr. Harshini, who has completed her UG degree in STNR Vaishnav College, Chennai, and following this, she did her professional degree course in Library and Information Science from Madras University. Her love for language and literature keep lingering in her and drove her towards higher studies in English literature. She completed her doctorate in the subject in the year 2015 from Presidency College, Chennai. She has been an active person in the research field and has contributed a lot to the development of research and mainly through her language skills. She has won many awards, including the Best Teacher Award and Event Coordinator Award for every successful year from 2016 to 19 for her enthusiastic role in conference, workshops, and symposium. She has presented and published nearly 45 papers at national and international journal level and edited and proofreaded more than 150 multidisciplinary theses, synopses, and research paper for academicians belonging to national and international institutions. She also assisted many national and international level projects. Many of her work has been successfully acknowledged and have good reach among the scholars who recommend her to other candidates. She has also posted nearly 45 videos on the subject English in Dr. MGR University Phrase to Digital Learning and YouTube channel. She also reviewed for two international journals. One is based on Canada and another is based on Pakistan. She's also hold the position of managing editor of English Year International based in Turkey. She's also a Mehendi artist. I'm happy to welcome you, ma'am. Now, at present, she is working as a professor in Department of English, editor, content writer in Dr. MGR Educational Research Institution, University, Chennai, India. Today, she's going to share her knowledge based on the topic paraphrasing in research, how, when, and why. Over to the guest speaker. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the warm introduction. A pleasant good evening to everyone. I'm filled with such gladness as I participate as one of the speakers on the second day in this International Virtual Faculty Development Program on Research Design and Research Proposal Writing that has been organized for nearly a week starting from yesterday. At the outset, let me congratulate and express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers. I hope I'm audible. Yes? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are
Thank,
audible.
thank you very much. Thank you. My heartfelt gratitude to the organizers, the Department of English, Kalasilingam Academy of Research and Education, deemed to be university, Malaysian Industrial Relations and Human Resource Association, Malaysia, Cape Comorin Trust, India, and Lavender Literary Club, India, for their hard work in organizing such a mega event and inviting me as their resource person and to share my ideas on the topic, paraphrasing in research, how, when, and why. Before I go for my presentation, let me share a few ideas on the topic. Till a few years ago, paraphrasing was a not so famous word to the research world. I hope you all will agree with me. Definitely not, because no plagiarism software existed then. Researchers were at liberty to bring in their own thoughts and also use the thoughts of others too as their own. Information too was very limited as opposed to today. Only if the guide or examiners, based on their knowledge, find out that the passage has been copied from some source, the researchers will face problems either while submitting their work or after submitting their work. Back then, research was the need of the hour. Crossing Viva votes and getting a PhD meant a great thing. Now, every hour there's a PhD candidate completing his Viva through some university or the other. And we could explicitly see how many Viva examinations are held virtually ever since the pandemic struck. So, research has outgrown demand nowadays. Still, research is considered very important as new findings lead to growth and development of mankind, builds knowledge, and facilitates efficient learning, helps understand various issues, to differentiate truth from lies, and to seek many opportunities along the way. But the serious problem a researcher faces at the time of completing a thesis is getting caught in the web of plagiarism software. Too many softwares now to immediately indicate if a sentence or paragraph has been copied from another source. So it has become quite a headache for researchers, and thus the word paraphrasing too became famous. No modern researcher would have survived the Viva Wars without paraphrasing in some form or the other in the undertaking research study. It has become an inevitable tool in the present research world. Am I not audible? I think somebody is telling.
No, ma'am. You are
Quite,
audible. Your voice
Uh,
is
it's quite
clear.
soft, Dr. Harshini.
oh, okay, okay. So, no modern researcher would have survived the Viva Wars without paraphrasing in some form in the undertaken research study. It has become an inevitable tool in the present research world. The difference between paraphrasing and plagiarism and paraphrasing is that the former, in the former, it is using someone else's words or ideas and passing them off as your own. In the latter, it means putting someone else's ideas in your own words. Paraphrasing is not plagiarism if you put the author's ideas completely in your own words and properly cite the source. So today we are going to see what is paraphrasing. In the course of my presentation, participants will understand and get answers for how, why, and when to paraphrase. So now, give me a second to share my presentation. Is the slide clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. So this is the topic, paraphrasing in research, how, when, and why. So now, it's always my habit to start with a beautiful quote. So sure, style. All those who have it share one thing, originality. Originality is considered very, very important in research. If you have your own style, then wonderful. Okay, so style is considered very, very important, and if you have it, it means you have one thing, originality. So now let's understand what is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is an important skill in research writing. It is a mental skill, a cognitive skill that requires higher order thinking and high proficiency in both reading and writing. So it's considered a very, very important skill in the present research world. Okay, so it's like higher order thinking where you need to put in more efforts in your reading process as well as the writing process. And practice is very, very important when it comes to paraphrasing. Okay, so now major reasons as to why to paraphrase has been taken from the source. It was beautiful. So I just had to take it as it is. So firstly, paraphrasing the text actually helps you understand the material. So when you paraphrase, it means you have understood the material well. When you need to put the information in your own words, you really need to consider what you want to say and how different aspects of the material relate to each other. Okay, so you need to consider what you really want to say and how various aspects of the material relate to one another. If you feel that paraphrasing is difficult and just takes time, it is good to consider that written examinations should not merely indicate that you know something. You should actually learn from them too. Okay, so if you paraphrasing is not a difficult activity at all, by practice you will definitely learn the skill of paraphrasing, and I will be telling you how in the course of my presentation. Secondly, a paraphrase signals your reader that you have processed the information and understood the material. Okay, so if you have understood the information well, then you can efficiently paraphrase. Paraphrasing requires, as mentioned, more understanding than merely copying the text. And in that way, it helps your reader determine that you have understood the material and not just copied it. So you have to do justice to your readers. They should not be made to feel that you have copied. If you have done so, you should be able to properly cite the source. If you paraphrase, you should efficiently do it so that it is in your own words and it is in your own writing. Okay, but you also have to cite the source. That's very, very important. This is of course especially important when your reader is also your teacher. You have to make sure that you have understood the material. So when you sell your work to the reader, you have to see that you are original and you have a lot of ideas to share that makes your work a complete one. Okay. Thirdly, the processing of the text helps to ensure that your text is relevant to the task you have been assigned. All texts are written for a specific purpose. You have to understand that somebody would have written for some purpose. You are writing for your purpose. Don't mix both. Okay? All texts are written for a specific purpose and in a specific context. And if you attempt to answer a question from a take-home exam by copying a passage from the book, there is a risk that you do not keep to the topic and thus fail to answer the question. Absolutely true. Instead, you may sound as though you are trying to write everything that you know about the topic. It is like as if the text was the textbook. Okay, so this one thing. Then, lastly, just copying from a source is actually considered plagiarism, even if you provide a citation. There is, however, one exception if you quote. Then you can use the text exactly as it is, verbatim, but you need to use quotation marks to indicate that the text is copied word by word. Plus, provide a citation as usual. Quotes are mainly used when not only the information is central, but the actual phrasing too. So, for example, when you define something or evoke a very central statement, you feel the word very good for your study, you use it as it is. Okay, it's quoting. Within the fields of medical and medicine and care, quotations are not very common. But if you're conducting an interview study, you can and should use quotations more frequently. Okay, so you just cannot be using quotation all the time in your research work. Sometimes you have to prove that you have understood something from the material, and you have also stated something on your own. Your thought also should be reflected. So these are all just additional. Okay, so let us understand what is the difference between quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Quotations are identical to the original and must genuinely equal the source document word by word, and the author should be given due credit. So whatever you see in the book or a paper or whatever it is, just copy it as it is without even altering a word. It becomes quotation. You have to mention who the author is, okay, who has stated that particular quote. But whereas paraphrasing is an art of wording a passage in one's own writing with also proper acknowledgement to the original source. A material that is paraphrased is generally shorter in length compared to the original, because you're not copying it as it is, you're understanding, you are taking the information and you're putting it in your own words. So the length becomes shorter automatically. Okay, with taking only the main points and editing it to some extent, putting your own words, filling it and making it meaningful. Clear? Whereas summarizing is such that it puts the main ideas into one's own words, including the points that are considered most essential. So you read the whole thing and put everything together, what you have understood, just a short summary. It is a thorough understanding of the original work and condensing it to give a broad overview of the said matter. So you all would have written summary in your school days, college days. So you exactly know what a summary is. You know what a summary is, you know how a quotation would look like. But paraphrasing would be something new. Okay, so that is why we have taken up this presentation to exactly state what actually it is. People think that paraphrasing is just that changing the words. Okay, putting replacing a word with a synonym word. That is actually not paraphrasing at all. If you do so, it will definitely fall under the web of plagiarism. Let's understand that very clearly. So now we have to understand when to paraphrase and when to quote. One second. So paraphrasing should be done to show the understanding of main ideas of the author. So if you have read something, you have understood what the author has stated, you just put out everything, just the main ideas, got it down. Then to help explain complex terminologies or ideas, if the study of somebody else sounds too wordy, sounds too complex, then you try to put it in simple words for your readers to understand. Okay, then to highlight original ideas that are not attention grabbing, while the original language that are attention grabbing, sorry, while the original language is not. So the original ideas which you feel it's so good and which you feel it would be very much useful for your readers, whereas the original language is not that good, but the idea is very good. If you feel like that, then you can paraphrase that kind of sentences or paragraphs. To change the emphasis of information to match one's own argument. Okay, so you just change that information to match your own arguments in your study. To give a clear voice in the paper that is not directly connected to other works. So this is how paraphrasing should be done. Whereas quoting should be done when the original wording is strong and engaging. If the quote is well known or quite difficult to paraphrase well, if it is a well known quote or if it is very difficult to paraphrase, you just put it as it is. Where the exact words of an authority would lend support to your own ideas. If you feel that kind of word would lend support, would be like a backup to your research, you use it as it is. When there is a need to present the author's detailed methods or finding or exact stated position. So when for all this you use quotations. So this is where quoting should be done, and paraphrasing it is the previous. Okay. So now, if you have had the habit of effectively taking notes, then paraphrasing would have been very, very easy for you. Effective note taking is considered by great people as one of the most resourceful methods to successfully paraphrase. So that is why your teachers would tell you in school and in college to just take notes. Okay, it's very easy for them to just give the material, take down the write down the questions, write down the questions and answers on the board, and just walk off. But why do they ask you to take notes? It is because they want you to understand the material well and write it in your own words. That is why note taking has been a practice right from school days till college days. And even when you're doing PhD, you need to take notes. You go to the library, you cannot just take down all the books and write out whatever it is. It's not that. Taking notes. So if you have the habit of effectively taking notes, then definitely paraphrasing would be very, very easy for you. So some of the note-taking methods are highlighting, commenting, underlining, writing a concise summary. Maybe you read that paragraph and then whatever you have understood, you just write it in summary form and bring it back home. You go to the library, you read a paragraph or read one page or something, whatever you have understood, you just write down like a brief summary or just write down in simple sentences and come back home. So this is note taking. Okay. So now let me share what is paraphrasing and its techniques. To successfully paraphrase, researchers should firstly have strong reasoning and linguistic abilities. Your language should be good. Okay, then your mental thoughts should collaborate well, and your language should be good enough so that you can write without doing any mistake. Secondly, they need to understand the meaning of the text appropriately, which stimulates their reading ability. So you have to understand the text properly so that it stimulates your reading ability, and therefore thereby you try to effectively paraphrase. Thirdly, they need to choose essential points of a source in order to transmute and assimilate them in their writing in a meaningful way. See, that's almost same like what I have shared in my previous slides. Okay, you have to understand the passage or whatever you read, and you have to put in your own ideas. This transformation can be done by using appropriate lexical items to replace those in the original text. So, how can that be done? You can do it by changing sentence structures, that is, from active voice to passive voice, then direct speech to indirect speech, or using other structures suitably and acceptably also forms the art of paraphrasing. So now let us go for the next slide where we see how to change the voice. So changing from active to passive voice. So changing from active to passive voice or vice versa works very well. If it is in the active, you change to passive voice, and from passive voice, you change to active voice. It works very well, good when it comes to paraphrasing. In active voice, the subject performs the action of the verb. In passive voice, the subject receives the action of the verb. So now see the example. The original text. Technology outperforms what users, regulators, or even its creators anticipated or seemed prepared to handle. So this is the original text. See how it has been revised, a paraphrased text. The expectations of creators, regulators, and users have been rapidly obscured by technology. Could you see if can you identify anything? Maybe something like it's almost same. No, it is effectively paraphrased. Okay, so that is this kind of sentence does not get caught in plagiarism. Okay, now changing the sentence construction. This is a very important part. Avoid keeping the same sentence construction, as the outcome would be plagiarism even if the words are changed. Even if you slightly change the words, it comes under plagiarism. That is, the sentence is almost same, only one or two words are changed using the synonym words. If you do so, definitely it will fall under plagiarism. So the better idea would be starting the sentence from a different part of the content. Maybe you change the way the sentence has been written, or changing the parts of the text, or by turning clauses into phrases. Another idea is to play with the number of sentences, like if it is a long text, if it is a long sentence, maybe you can divide it into two different sentences. Okay, or if there are many short sentences, you can assimilate and put them as one sentence. Okay, but you have to see that you have understood it well. Without understanding, if you do, and if you just take off the full stop and just add two sentences, then you will face grammatical errors. Okay, and there will the sentence construction also will not be proper. So you have to be very careful. It is imperative to put in personal thoughts into the original text and try to impeccably include source text into own writing while still citing the parts being sourced in between. If you have taken it from somewhere, even if you have paraphrased, you have to see that you cite the source. Very important. Okay. So now people ask me, in even literature review, we are just stating what the author has stated and why that too falls in plagiarism. It has become like that. Even if you have taken from some source, you have to see that you have understood and you have changed it accordingly. Okay. because actually the purpose of research is to know, maybe the purpose of literature review is to know that you have understood what the other authors have stated and not just copying from what they have given. Okay, so see the original text. We do not yet understand all the ways in which brain chemicals are related to emotions and thoughts, but the salient point is that our state of mind has an immediate and direct effect on our state of body. This is what this author has stated. Now, proper paraphrasing is Siegel, the year by which he has written, writes that the relationship between the chemicals in the brain and our thoughts and feelings remains only partially understood. See how the person has divided the passage into two sentences. He has understood the passage carefully and then he has given it here. He goes on to further say, however, that one thing is clear: our mental state affects our bodily state. See how effectively they have paraphrased. It has no relation to the original text, but they have all cited the source, okay, in the reference as well as here. So that is what paraphrasing is all about. You have to cite the source. So now, paraphrasing is a valuable skill. Why? Because it is better than quoting information from a run of the mill passage. It evades one from the attraction of quoting too much. If you just be putting quotes from, maybe taking from some book and just putting, then it doesn't come under effective research. Then the cognitive skill needed for good paraphrasing is acquired and it helps in thorough understanding of the original passage. Okay, so it helps you to understand your mental thoughts, expand, and you get better ideas when you paraphrase. Sometimes you will be surprised to see that you are able to put in your own thoughts in addition to what the other person has stated in their work only by practice. If you just be plainly thinking that you are maybe your idol and just let us put those thoughts exactly in our work, then there is no way that you can understand effectively. So that's very, very important. You have to see that you work wholeheartedly in your research work. Okay. So paraphrasing strategy. You have to read the original text, understand it as a whole, set it aside. You have to take a book, read, understand what it is, and then you have to keep it aside. Then with the help of your memory, whatever you have stored in your memory, write down the main points or concepts. In your own words, summarize the material that helps make your point. So you have to put it in your own words. You should never see that original passage at all. You would have, that is something, it's called mind mapping. I will tell you some techniques how you have to do that. Maybe the SQR3 method and the Lotus method will follow in the course of my presentation. Okay. So some more strategies of paraphrasing is using synonyms for non-keywords. Technical words, it's very difficult to change. Maybe non-keywords, particularly verbs, prepositions, adverbs, and adjectives, you can definitely change. Okay, you can use the synonym words. So, for example, from noun to verb, if it is acceptance, you can use accept. But all the time you have to see that it matches well with the sentence you are writing. You just cannot use the word. You just cannot change the noun to verb or verb to noun. You have to see if it collocates well with the sentence. Okay. So achievement, achieve, action, act, activity, act. From noun to adjective, happiness, happy, intelligence, intelligent, juice, juicy, kindness, kind. From noun to adverb, firmness, firmly, force, forcefully, danger, dangerously, delight, delightfully. Then from one category of noun to another category of noun. Okay. Then maybe science to scientist. Then change of nouns and pronouns from singular to plural. Accordingly, you have to make changes in the sentence. Okay. Maybe you can swap or make the sentence look more meaningful in your writing. Then change of verb forms from gerund to infinitive. Maybe example swimming, you change it to swim. Then from simple present to continuous, and then from active to passive. Change of style from personal to impersonal. Maybe in some books they would have given in personal form. You change it to impersonal. So there are many methods. Okay. Now, how to effectively paraphrase. So again and again, read the original passage till the full meaning is grasped. The next step is to put away the original and paraphrase the passage in a notebook or note card. If you have the habit of having note cards, you can use it. Maybe bits of charts, small pieces. You can use it as note card, and then you can write down the important points. Then a few additional words can be written down below the paraphrase to help you add it to the paraphrase to use later. Okay. Then on top of the paraphrase, a keyword or a sentence can be written to highlight the subject or area of study. Then now go back to the original and to check if the new version accurately matches all the needed information in a totally fresh form. So after you have done all this, you have to go back to the original and you have to check if you have given all the information, needed information in a totally different form, a fresh form. Okay. Then if there is any line that you have used exactly as the original, either you have to reword it using a thesaurus or use a quotation mark and give due credit to the author. Then keep a photocopy of the page from where you have paraphrased in order to credit it easily in case you require incorporating it in your research study. So always having a Xerox copy in your hand will help. If you feel that material is very, very important, you can always, even though you have written something from that passage, it is always better to take a photocopy and keep it with you for reference later. Okay. So quick steps to effectively to bring in quality paraphrasing is read the original text carefully, substitute the words, asking yourself questions about precise meaning. See, for a word there will be lots of other words, but how well the word matches your sentence, you have to think well before you put that particular word in the sentence. We call that maybe connotation. Annotation, yeah, that's it. I'll tell you about it later. Then rearrange sentences. Then check the meaning of your paraphrase against the original. Identify the source you're paraphrasing. See, actually, denotation and connotation mean denotation, whatever is the meaning, you use it exactly. Connotation is like you check whether that particular word can be used in the sentence. Well, if, for example, the word miserly, you would, it's like, if you use it in the sentence, it would feel like it hurts, it doesn't suit the sentence properly, or it may hurt the feelings of others. So you have to see another word for that and see that there is no what some feelings or emotions related to the word when you use, and it just looks like a normal word. So that also you have to keep in mind when you paraphrase. The use of words is very, very important. So follow the ASQ3R method. ASQ3R method is for people who use language, maybe English language. They would have had this kind of topic, ASQ3R method, like a survey. You have to preview, you have to skim and scan the material. Then you have to ask questions to yourself whether this will suit your research. And then you have to read for meaning. You have to read it more closely than before. And then you have to test yourself whether you have understood the material well. And then you have to review after you read. Okay, you have to recollect all the points and you have to see if you have given a proper image to your writing. Okay, so that is a Q3R method. It's very useful when you paraphrase. The another method is making use of the lotus blossom technique. See, when you see a lotus, you will see where lots of petals. Okay, so just a small from a small thing, you just see lots of petals surrounding it, right? So this is lotus blossom technique. See, actually, a lotus diagram is a brainstorming and organization tool. It helps define key concepts or parts of a broader picture. The center of the diagram represents the main. I'll show you the diagram. How the lotus blossom technique works will be followed in the next slide. With 8 surrounding boxes representing ancillary concepts, secondary thoughts, whatever it is, you put it in other 8 surrounding boxes. Lotus diagrams are similar to mind map. So you might be knowing what mind mapping is, putting all the ideas in different forms and then putting everything together and writing a passage. But they are more structured. Here it is too formal, structured one. Okay, because they are more constrained in terms of the number of factors that can be considered and the number of substantiating details that can then be added. Okay, the lotus blossom technique, as it is also called, starts with a central idea or theme and is subsequently expanded in an iterative manner by means of solution areas or related themes. The technique encourages the user to have a fully formed idea before it is considered complete. So you put all the ideas whatever you have in your brain in the lotus technique, and then finally when you feel you're complete, then you can just go through it and then assimilate all the ideas and put it as in a proper passage. This works effectively when it comes to paraphrasing or when it comes to putting your thoughts in your own words. Okay. This creative tool for creatively solving problems was proposed by Michael Michalko. So now, so this is how the lotus blossom technique works. See, actually, the main topic is here, the main idea, the keyword is here, and then you put all the subtopics. Okay, subtopic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 surrounding it, and then later for this subtopic you leave another box. Okay, and then likewise for other subtopics too, and then you bring out subtopics or whatever it is, put all the ideas together, and then you can bring it as a passage. So this works very much effectively when it comes to paraphrasing. The SQ3R method as well as this lotus blossom technique is all something which you can it can show your involvement in research. Okay, you really want to know what it is, you really want to put your thoughts in your own words, you really want to bring out something new. So if you have that kind of thoughts in your mind, this kind of techniques will help you definitely. So now we have come to the 4 R's of paraphrasing. So rewording. So replacing the original word with a synonym word. So as I told you before, rewording, then rearranging, trying to reorganize the sentence order, structure of the sentence without changing the meaning. Then realizing that some information can never be altered. You have to use that kind of information as it is stated in the work of some other author. Then rechecking. Rechecking whether the paraphrase structure gives the taste of original meaning. Okay? Then see rewording. Rewording is a simple process of swapping words with synonyms. Like examples of synonyms in successfully paraphrased text. The original text is paraphrased text today. You can use recent, nowadays, amount, too much, a lot of, keeps them from, prevent them from, having fun, entertain, relax, protesting, objecting, refusing, give up, forgot, loaded down, tired of, tired to, responded favorably, supported, refused, rejected, don't accept. So accordingly, according to these words, you have to see that your sentence is structured properly. Just by using the words, you cannot have the satisfaction that you have done something different. You have to see that the sentence matches well with this the words which you have altered. Okay. Then rearranging. My partners and I are currently in the middle of getting funding for a new business we are launching. At the present time, my partners and I are seeking funds for our new business venture. So the top one is the original, and the what is given in red is the paraphrased sentence. Then uploading a video to YouTube can help exposure for your business. Your business can be seen by many people if you post a video on YouTube. The fall of the Berlin Wall happened in his lifetime. During his lifetime, the Berlin Wall was taken down. This product causes the breakdown of excess body fat and will help people shed pounds. Using this product helps people lose weight as it eliminates extra fat in the body. So this is some sort of rearranging. Okay. So now when you paraphrase, you also have to prepare a checklist where you have to see if you have done it properly. Okay, whether you have read, did you understand the passage? Restate, did you restate important points in your own writing, then your own voice, then recheck, did you include all the important points, then repair, did you correct the misinformation? So this kind of checklist you have to prepare, and you have to just see whether you have done everything properly at the end. Okay, that is effectively paraphrasing. So when this reading, see, when you read, the reading of all good books is like conversation with the finest men of past century. So when you develop the skill of reading, it's a valuable thing which you can do. Okay, so it's like you are conversing with people, great people who have gotten great thoughts in their work. Okay, so reading is very, very important in research. You have to follow that, and writing is equally important. So now let us understand plagiarism. So plagiarism is an intentional replication of words and ideas of others and using it in one's own in any form of academic writing is defined as plagiarism. If due credit is not given to the original source, anything, whether it is paraphrased or copied verbatim or verbatim form, is plagiarism. In other words, plagiarism is word by word copying of work written by somebody else, just putting their thoughts as your own thoughts. Failing to give proper credit for ideas, statements of facts, or conclusions derived by another, including undocumented web source usage. So if you don't give proper credit to what you have used, then that also forms under the web of plagiarism. Failing to use quotation marks when quoting directly from another, whether a paragraph, sentence, or phrase. Then close and extended paraphrasing of another work without duly acknowledging the source. So this is what we call plagiarism. When you just copy somebody's work and put it as if it is your own work, then definitely it comes under plagiarism. They would have thought, given their own thoughts, they would have used their mental skill to write something, and if you use it, it is like just stealing their work. Okay, that should not be done. Three major reasons for committing plagiarism. What are the three major reasons for committing plagiarism? The reasons for committing plagiarism may be attributed to three major reasons. One is personal, the other one is interpersonal, and the third one is social. So let us see what they are. The personal reason, it is a reflection of low self-image or low self-confidence. You have the feeling that you will not be able to do like how others have done. Low self-respect. I do not see myself as being capable of putting in the effort or of being creative, original, and therefore I need to pass off someone else's work as my own, otherwise I will look dumb. So if you feel that you don't have the skill of writing, you don't have the skill of putting your thoughts and giving your own ideas, you have low self-image, then that's the reason. Then it is an indicator of low intelligence. I cannot see the relationship between not doing the work myself and not learning what I need to learn from the assignment. It is an indicator of ignorance. I do not know that plagiarism is destructive to me and to society. So, not having a proper understanding of plagiarism and just thinking that who is going to see. Okay, then it is an indicator of a lack of ability to appreciate the difference between means, the assignment project, and ends, learning, gaining self-respect. So you don't know the difference between the two. So these are the personal reasons. Then interpersonal reasons can be it's an indicator of lack of appreciation of the relationship between the guide and the student. The guide is not there to judge you. He or she is there to be a facilitator of learning. It is a symptom of a need to gain attention and recognition. You have a dire need to gain attention. Even only when you complete PhD, you will be able to get respect, some sorts of thought. So whatever it is, let it be my own work. Some kind of negative thoughts like that makes you commit this crime. Okay, but it comes at a cost of low self-respect. Then social reasons. Healthy societies are built on trust, and every act that breaks that trust is another piece of straw that broke the camel's back. So, for you to know, I have given the straw that broke the camel's back is. It is a sequence of displeasures that ultimately led to one final equation. For the whole week, you have lots of tensions, and finally, when one small thing happens, you put everything together and you burst out. Okay, so that is what we call another piece of straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, if you don't want to live in a society, if you don't want to live in a society where people think that it is okay to plagiarize, don't do it yourself. Otherwise, you and whoever follows you will also become a victim in a malicious society that you have helped to create. Okay, so don't commit the habit of plagiarism. It's wrong. Then guidelines for avoiding plagiarism. Take proper notes and include necessary information about the source for reference list and citations. When drafting, include citations immediately. If citations are used after the paper is written, it would be missed or lead to wrong citation. So, as soon as you take some material, you have to immediately cite it down. Okay, who the author is, from where it is taken, publisher, all those things you have to note down immediately. If you feel that it can be done later, you will forget and the information will be lost. Okay, always use own ideas and words. Very, very important. Always you have to use your own ideas and your own words. Practice is the only way to this. The more you practice on ordering your thoughts and conveying ideas, the better will be your writing. So, practice makes a man perfect. The more you practice, the more you take some time for ordering your thoughts and conveying ideas, the perfect work yours will be. Then, give credit for copied, adapted, or paraphrased material. If you copy and use another's exact words, you must use quotation marks and cite the source. It's very, very important. Then avoid using others' work with minor cosmetic changes. Example, using less for fewer, reversing the order of sentence, or changing terms in a computer code. If the work is essentially the same as your source, give credit. Okay, so these are the guidelines for avoiding plagiarism. Good understanding always helps. You're less inclined to use the ideas and words of another person when you have a strong understanding of the subject. Dive thoroughly into your chosen subject of study before you start writing. That is why we give enough time for researchers to complete their work. If you feel that you can just copy and give the work, then just 6 months or just 3 months is enough for you. Why are they giving you 3 years or 4 years to complete your research? Because you have to understand, you have to put on your mental thoughts, you have to bring in so many ideas, you have to work a lot, and only then you can bring out a perfect work. And that is the reason why much time is given for research. Otherwise, just months will be sufficient. Okay, so you have to understand that. You need to gather a vast data from the textbooks, magazines, journals, and other sources. Always refer to the different source material. Synthesize information. Just be mixing information, bring down a lot of information together, and then put in your own thoughts. And they, rather than relying on a single source, refer to so many materials, bring down all the ideas, and then put it in your mind, and then you give your own ideas on the topic. It reduces the chances of plagiarism. Checking the work. See, using a perfect tool to verify that you have correctly used sources in your work is always good and intelligent idea. You can easily use potential plagiarism checker tools in order to ensure authenticity in your report. You can easily paraphrase the affected section after using such tools. You can check as soon as you finish your work, you can immediately check the work whether it falls under plagiarism by using making use of softwares like Turnitin, Earthcon, etc. Okay, so you have to check the work because it avoids last minute tension. Then the last and final thing is using your time effectively. See, time, you're wasting a lot of time in your research period, and then we're sitting in the last minute to complete your work will definitely not help you. It will not help you in bringing a proper research work. So plan well. Plan your day according to the time you feel most productive. Create a to-do list in accordance with your plan. So planning is very, very important. Okay, manage interruptions. See, social media has become a big distraction for us nowadays, but we have to see that in the course of our research period, we have to put it aside for some time. Assign a fixed time to deal with interruptions such as emails, phone calls, WhatsApp messages, Facebook notifications, because it is very difficult to regain focus after getting disturbed. See, once you, when a message comes and you see that, then you lose focus and you get diverted in that. And then again, when you come back, you will, your thoughts, your ideas, everything will become blank. Okay, then you spare time effectively. Always keep something to read with you. Throughout your research period, you have to read. You have to take time for reading, writing, always. A reading task can be done while waiting at a bus or in a queue. Okay, then go digital. Use any modern software to help you organize and keep control of your tasks. Lots of tools are available. You can keep them to organize your tasks. Then avoid postponing. Unnecessarily postponing unpleasant tasks just delays completing them. Practice self discipline. Lack of self discipline is a serious problem. Stick to the plan. Time buffers. Spare some extra time or date as a buffer for completing a task. In a way, you can help yourself from getting brain in the last minute. Okay? So these are the ideas to use your time effectively. So finally, I would like to tell you that research is creating new knowledge. You give some direction to other people and bring down something new, okay, some sort of new knowledge, and you give some effective direction for other researchers to follow you. So that is what we call research. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, madam. Really, it is very wonderful and informative and especially thought provoking session. You have given a very brief
Thank you
definition,
very much. Thank you.
definition on paraphrasing and summarizing. We are indeed gifted to have you as a speaker. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Madam,
Hello, ma'am.
could you provide PPTs or recording for us?
Yes, definitely. I'll provide you with the
Uh,
PPT.
and one
Not a
more
problem.
thing, for
It
plagiarism,
depends. When maybe in our university we just have the YouTube link and we'll ask the participants to watch it directly in YouTube. So I don't know how these the organizers here have planned. So accordingly, you can maybe
Hello,
um,
ma'am. Am I audible to you?
yes, please
Ma'am, I'm Raman Goswami,
tell me, sir.
and I have a question, ma'am. And it's a
Yes,
vast question, long question, and I think you can satisfy me by giving your special
yes,
thinking on that particular thing.
yeah.
That there is an English proverb: "Style is the man himself. Behind the style, man is nothing."
Oh,
And we are beginning the session by your speech of style and originality. So, ma'am, according to Francis Bacon, there are some books which are to be tasted, few are to be chewed, and some few are to be swallowed and digested. Again, he said, summarized books are just like distilled water. It may be tasty but not healthy because it lacks the minerals which we find in the original water. So, ma'am, I think, am I right that plagiarism and paraphrasing did not present one's own style or originality? We must need to read the text very properly so that innovation or knowledge is coming out automatically by practicing the text. Am I right or wrong, ma'am?
you are right. You are right. There's nothing wrong in this. See, actually, what you have said was you have to read the text properly. See, that is what I told in the previous slide. You have to read from a lot of material. Okay, because definitely when someone is in the research field, they are actually new to the research area. Maybe many of them, so they don't know how to bring in their thoughts or ideas. So only when they read from other sources, it will help them. So what they have to do is they have to read from lots of material, and then they have to bring in their own thoughts and put it in their own writing. So this, the only way is to read a lot and practice writing well. That is the only way
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can do.
Because, ma'am, it is said, invention nature's child, fled step them studied blow.
uh,
If we read properly, then knowledge is coming out automatically. And if
yes,
we study or follow the other works, then
yes.
there is no knowledge. There is just imitation.
Madam, I have a question. Ma'am, I wanted to know that we see that the definitions are very similar kinds. So, if how do I convert it in my own language? Because it's a definition. For example, I teach alcohol. So, if I want to say that bar is a licensed establishment where alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages are served. So, this is a set definition with limited words and they are very specific. So then if I write this, then it comes under plagiarism. Then what do I do? Maybe can you please repeat the question once? I was
My
not able to
question is
follow you.
no. My question is definition. Like I gave an definition of a bar. So it is a licensed establishment is the word which has to come. Served alcohol and non-alcoholic beverage is the word to come. So everything is there, which is very specific. So there is no paraphrasing that can be done when I'm writing the definition.
Understand. Okay. So see, that's what I told you. Keywords. You cannot alter the keywords. Okay.
Yeah.
Keywords are very, very important. It has to be given as the only thing you can do in paraphrasing is the non-keywords, like how I showed you in my previous slide.
Right.
Change from noun to verb to noun, noun to verb, then adjective to noun, something like that. Oh, that's the only way you can do.
So this won't come under.
Difficult.
So this won't come under plagiarism then.
No, if it falls, maybe you see they allow in universities, maybe they allow a specific percentage of plagiarism. Okay, they don't say your work should have 0% plagiarism. Yes or no?
Yes, because it is not possible.
Maybe they allow some 5% or 10%. So you can maybe can be adjusted. That's the only thing.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you. Because I have always been very confused because this is very technical and those words will come. So that is one problem. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.